Welcome to my educational series where you can improve your English proficiency and prepare for exams like TOEFL and IELTS. In this episode, we'll focus on an academic topic. You will hear talk followed by several questions. I recommend that you take some notes while listening because it will help you at the end of the conversation to answer all of the questions in the quiz correctly. So, let's get started.
All right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating, how artificial intelligence is changing the world of education. And we're going to look at this from a few different angles.
Yeah, and I think what's so compelling about this right now is that we're seeing AI actually being implemented in classrooms and learning environments. It's not just a theoretical discussion anymore.
Right, and for you listening, this means you can get a really clear idea of how AI is impacting you, or maybe your kids, or just the future of learning in general. So let's start with one of the biggest areas that our sources all point to: personalized learning.
Yeah, personalized learning, it's really about recognizing that everyone learns differently, right? What works for one person might not work for another, and that's where AI is coming in.
So how is it actually working? How is AI making this happen?
Well, imagine an AI system that's constantly observing how a student interacts with learning materials. It's tracking things like how quickly they grasp different concepts where they might struggle, what types of problems they find easier or harder, and then it uses all of that data to create a truly customized learning experience.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, it almost sounds like having a personal tuner for every student.
In a way, yeah, and that's the potential here. Adapting the learning process to each individual's needs. That's something that's been talked about in education for a long time, but AI is making it a reality.
So we're moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach to education.
Exactly, and you can see how powerful that could be. For example, let's say you're trying to learn a complex math concept, but the AI system knows you're a visual learner, so it presents the information using diagrams and animations instead of just equations and text. That kind of tailored approach can make a huge difference in how effectively someone learns.
That makes a lot of sense. And it brings us to another key area that our sources highlight. The whole way we think about testing and assessment is changing with AI.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the traditional kind of test to static exam where everyone gets the same questions, that's starting to look pretty outdated with what AI can do.
So what are we seeing instead then? What's coming in to replace that?
Well, think about a test that actually adapts to how you're doing in real time. So if you're acing the questions, it gets progressively harder. And if you're struggling, it might offer you hints or adjust the difficulty to find that sweet spot where you're being challenged but not overwhelmed.
So it's much more about understanding what you know and don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then beyond just the score itself, AI can analyze those patterns in your responses to provide much deeper insights into your learning progress. Like, where are you excelling? Where might you need more support? And this information isn't just useful for the student, it can really help educators tailor their teaching methods and provide targeted interventions when needed.
Okay, so it's giving us a much more nuanced view of the learning process. But with all of these amazing capabilities come some important questions as well, right? Especially around ethics.
Right, and this is something that our sources really emphasize. As these AI systems become more sophisticated, they're collecting a lot of data about students, their learning habits, their strengths and weaknesses, and that raises some serious considerations about privacy.
Absolutely. We need to make sure this data is being handled responsibly and used ethically. It's a huge responsibility.
Absolutely, and then there's another layer to this too, the question of access. We want to make sure that these powerful AI tools are available to all learners, not just a privileged few.
Right. It would be a real shame if AI ended up exacerbating existing inequalities in education instead of helping to level the playing field.
Yeah, exactly. So thinking about equity is crucial here. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of bias. AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. So we need to be very mindful of potential biases in the algorithms and work to address them to ensure fairness for all learners.
So a lot of responsibility falls on the shoulders of the people developing and implementing these AI systems.
Absolutely. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how it's used and the ethical considerations that go along with that. So that close collaboration between educators who understand learning and the developers who are building these AI systems, that's really crucial.
So to quickly sum things up, it sounds like AI is already having a significant impact on education with personalized learning experiences and dynamic assessments. But we also have to be very mindful of the ethical considerations around data privacy, equity, and bias.
Exactly. And the exciting and maybe even a little daunting thing is that this is just the beginning. We're still in the early stages of AI in education, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it continues to evolve in the coming years.
Which leads us to a final thought for you listening. As AI becomes more and more integrated into learning, what skill do you think will be most valuable for students to develop to thrive in this new landscape?
That's a good question.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to exploring more with you next time.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have learned something new and useful, and see you in the next episode. Bye.